Welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardinellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And today we are giving you the truth about the 25th District. Okay, we've been seeing Twitter going live with all kinds of claims that it's a blue state, or not a blue state, a blue district flipped red, that there's a 25-year history of X, Y, or Z. But we actually live here, and we're going to give you the inside scoop. So, Cody, please tell us what's going on.
Okay, so I guess we'll quickly run through for some background. There was, I believe, 2 special elections yesterday. The one that kind of drew a lot of the attention was the one we had up here, northern Los Angeles, in our very own 25th district in California. Actually, I believe really big. It was like Nancy Pelosi was tweeting out to go support Christy Smith, Donald Trump tweeting out to go support Mike Garcia. It became a big deal. Now, why we had this special election, it's a long story. Don't want to get too far into it. However, we had Katie Hill, who was elected in 2018. She only served, I think, 10 months. She resigned in November in 2019.
After ignominy.
Yeah, but pretty much a big gross sex scandal broke out. It was kind of one of those things where
we elected a woman that we knew was in the swinger community, and then she got caught with all these swinger profiles, sleeping around with every staff member of both genders that she could find.
But I guess. But the bigger thing that I think just happened, we were talking about this before, by the way, locally. Honestly, no one really cares. Like, no one's like, oh, how dare. No one really cares locally. It was just one of those things, I think, where there was a couple bits of information that were pertinent, like the fact that you probably shouldn't have sexual relationship with staff members, but then a bunch of personal stuff got dumped on top.
Well, and she's using illicit drugs while serving.
Personal stuff doesn't matter. Got muddy. Anyway, though, I want to bring it up because we had an election, big election, because Katie Hill helped flip this seat blue. Now, this seat was flipped blue for the first time in, I want to say, almost 30 years. You can go back and you can see it was 1993 when Howard Buck McKeon, won basically for the first time. This 25th district was considered to be northern Los Angeles. Up until that point, it was represented by Edward Roybal, and it was considered kind of central eastern Los Angeles or Los Angeles. And then when it was officially kind of into what we recognize as the 25th now, it's moved a couple times. It was won by Republican Buck McKeon.
There was a population boom that basically led to us finally becoming our own district. And when we've been a red district since the city was incorporated in 1989, and he was first elected in 92.
Exactly. And I don't want to spend too much time with history because it's a big deal. You could say we had the first Democrat elected, and you could see basically in the history of the 25th encompassing what we call Santa Clarita. So that was very interesting. However, I want to focus in on kind of it's weird. It probably happens a lot. The narrative nationally, the national narrative, big one that I've been seeing a lot, and this is the one I want to show you guys. It's from local Fox. I don't think that's a big Fox. Anyway, so the Republican Mike Garcia declares victory over Democrat Christy Smith in California 25. U.S. House special election race is the first time in 20 plus years the GOP has flipped a blue congressional seat red in California. Though it was red. He does mention that. Now, the reason why I want to bring this up, a lot of people have been harping on, there was this big narrative that there was the House flipped from Republican to Democrat in 2018. They say with these suburban districts going blue with moderates. You can argue if she's moderate or not either way. But the bigger thing here, and the thing I want to talk about, and it's kind of one of those things that isn't going to get talked about a lot nationally because you wouldn't know otherwise, is there's a big reason why Katie Hill won in 2018. Really big reason why she won in 2018. And it's unfortunately Steve Knight. While he did, I'm just like, from living out here, he was
Poor Steve.
He was not very popular. He was not very much of a fundraiser. Didn't have a whole lot of support nationally. And this was a very interesting wrinkle. One thing you'll hear brought up a lot about the 25th district, as far as that it voted for Hillary, I think, +7. Here's LA Times did a breakdown of what that looks like, +7 Hillary, but you'll see it's kind of a mixture. But the bigger thing I want to highlight there is that there definitely is this kind of the older boomer Republican conservatives who are never Trumpers. Those are the people who elected Steve Knight in 2016. Because by the way, 2016, our entire city council was Republican, state Republican, Congress, Assembly, Senate, everything went Republican. However, there wasn't necessarily like a full-on Trump bend. Over the next 2 years, that changed, became much more Trump favorable to their local Republicans. And as a result, Steve Knight got the boot. Basically got ran out of town. No one wanted to vote for him. He lost and what's interesting too is when you look at the actual election. So again, this is getting into very deep, not deep, but we're kind of going through ancient history here, but I want to show you guys this. This is the election he actually lost. The election he actually lost was very interesting in the fact that there was 4 Democrat primary opponents, basically split the vote. Katie Hill went on to win, actually beat Brian Caforio by 2 points. What's interesting there, Brian Caforio came from Beverly Hills.
Yeah, he
bought his house, ran the primary, lost, sold his house like the next day and just got out of town. Like he was no real threat. and Katie Hill won. Now, this is a big, long thing, but the reason why I want to go into it is because there's been this national narrative that, oh, the red wave is coming. Here's definitely a Twitter conservative right here. We got Kurt Schlichter. I don't know how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
But he says, if a Navy guy like Mike Garcia can crush the Dem in California 25, how brutally will an Army guy like defeat Pelosi's? Please do not look at the 25th as a sign of things to come, because there's two big things I wanted to highlight here. And again, the first thing was Steve Knight, the guy that lost, he just quite frankly wasn't very popular. After crushing the primary, he narrowly lost in the general election where he did not, I think he had lower support across the board. A candidate who was Katie Hill, was young, progressive, had a lot of energy behind her, running against a guy that none of the local Republicans supported. He had so little support, by the way, when he got a chance to rerun again in 2020, because, hey, remember, like, this wasn't the only election he ran in. He tried to get his seat back when he ran in the primary. Yeah. This Republican and he lost by, I believe, see if I can pull the exact numbers up. He lost by a bigger margin than Brian Caforio lost to Katie Hill in last year's primary.
Yeah, it was brutal.
My only point here is a guy who was not very popular lost in 2018, largely because he wasn't very popular. And now the district turned to red. And there's one other name I want to bring up, and this is it. This is every local area, local politics. But this individual, Howard Buck McKeon, who won this seat, what is that, like 10 times, 11 times? I mean, he served
our
forever.
entire formative years.
Basically built the district. I mean, as far as the 25th being Northern Los Angeles, I'm just saying he knows how this district runs out here. He also, I believe, was one of the biggest supporters and backers of the Mike Garcia, who eventually went on to win campaign.
Well, I mean, he basically recruited him. I mean, everybody knows that Buck McKeon became, some would say he forsook Santa Clarita in the 25th because he was tired of all the drama here. Some people would just say that he sold out. Some people would just be more benevolent and say he matured. Either way, he hasn't been here, and he's been in Washington ever since he became a congressman. And it's well known that he does lobby on behalf of the defense industry. And he even has he's got some clients. I think the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is actually one of his largest clients that he seeks military contracts for, right? And so the word on the street is that was basically a big part of Mike Garcia's recruitment is we need somebody in here that can play ball with the big defense contracts and can keep the local industry, which the 25th is known for, having massive plants for Boeing, Skunk Works, Northrop Grumman, so on and so forth. Okay. Keep those contracts going and alive, which is basically the local economy, and then also hopefully make Buck McKeon some money.
It's not like even like a secret relationship. Going back to 1994, it's on Mike Garcia's website. Buck McKeon was the guy who nominated, nominated by Representative Howard Buck McKeon to attend the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis. Now, don't get me wrong. Mike Garcia went to Annapolis, graduated, I believe. By all accounts, he's a solid candidate. And that's the other thing I want to get into is this was an area that's been basically mostly Republican since it exists, since the 25th formed as this Northern Los Angeles
since it was
area.
created.
Yeah, it's mostly been Republican. It stayed that way. There was a brief blip when Katie Hill flipped a seat from a pretty much unpopular Steve Knight. And then we can get into local politics forever. Why he even was there, all the weird stuff, people terming out in other offices, like so much of it. Why did Christy Smith run, by the way? Christy was our assembly person.
And she was pressured by the Democrats to do it because they were
the guy she beat. Christy Smith probably. I feel bad for her. I wish she would have stayed in assembly because I thought she maybe could have won this seat. But the bottom line is people kind of like Christy Smith out here as far as just like she's pretty popular as far as politicians go. That's why she beat. Well, I mean, she won the.
She torched to the ground charter schools. I find her wildly unpopular.
I know that Cardin Ellis doesn't like her, but overall in the community, she's pretty popular. She was elected. She beat individual. I'm not going to get into it. But bottom line is this. This sounds confusing and
if she were popular, she would have won.
The reason why I wanted to get into this is that a lot of times they will pick, and the reason why the media picked the 25th, for example, is because a lot of media people live out in Los Angeles, one, and it's close, so it's in their backyard, A.
Yeah. And
then B, the other reason why I got picked up, I know it was a special election, it was one of the only ones. But be careful when people start feeding you these narratives about this incoming red wave. Okay, everything pretty much is a unique situation. Right? Every election is unique. There's people, there's a backstory, there's local politics that go back a while. So be careful when people try to spin you narratives. Say, this is the first time a blue seat's been flipped red in 25 years. It was a blue seat for 11 months. Like this notion that, but the thing is,
I wouldn't even call it a blue seat though. I would say it was a red seat held during a very strange anti-Trump time by a Democrat who is able to run on it. That doesn't necessarily even make it a blue seat. I would have to see some kind of history before you call it a blue seat.
Exactly it. But the only point is, you're going to see people running narratives, people that just look at a piece of paper and say, Democrat lost to Republican in blue seat. I guess this means X for Republicans nationally. That's what people talk about. Because the thing I think is funny is people are saying, well, how come in 2018 Democrats are talking about all these suburban blue waves they flipped? Yeah, those were dumb lies too. People don't live in these areas. It's one of the reasons why. Be very careful when you look at another state and the way they vote and who they elect and be like, well, that's dumb. The state I've never really been to or lived in. I know why they should vote the way they should. I mean, there's local reasons for everything. And I just think it's interesting for us because we live here. We've seen it happen. Dude, if you would have, in 2018, I knew Steve Knight was going to lose. No one liked him out here. He had no chance of beating anybody, really, he was running against. If he ran against anybody that had anything behind them, which, by the way, Katie Hill had millions and millions and millions of dollars from guess who? Guess who was Katie Hill biggest donor when she went on air in 2018? Good old Mikey Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg gave her millions of dollars. So again, there is so much stuff extenuating circumstances, and my only point here is don't let people tell you that this is it. Republicans are coming. Don't let people tell you that that this means anything for Democrats either. All this was the 25th district, a local community,
normalizing,
correcting back to where it's been for 30 years. So people that are going to try to tell you this means this shows that Trump's going to win, all this stuff, please don't listen to that. But here's a bigger thing. Just remember that. Remember a lot of times when they'll tell you this happened here. And by they, I mean mainstream media, big-time journalists. They'll write articles talking about, look at this election here. That means this. Look at this poll here. That means this. Without really having any idea why. Seriously. I mean, how many people am I reading talking about why this is a boon for conservatives are glossing over the fact it was an embarrassment for conservatives when they lost the assembly in Congress just 16 months ago. Yeah. And it's kind of corrected back. I mean, out here locally, by the way, it looks like because Christy Smith vacated her assembly seat to run for Congress, it looks like we're going to have a Republican assembly person again. Yeah. So it looks like this blue seat, everyone's going to talk about the blue seat that got flipped red, is going to just correct back to where it's been for 30 years.
Yeah, you mean we're going to have a Republican assemblyman is what you meant to say.
Sorry. Our representatives in both chambers would be Republican at that.
And we just interviewed her. It's going to be Suzette Valladares. And so our ticket will go back to being red like it has been literally since 1989. Okay. And so I agree with you that the narrative on a national scale by all of the talking heads in the national media, once again, is incorrect. And it's based upon just this weird mutual groupthink that these people that think they're in the know because they have blue check marks next to their names on Twitter, are saying. But in reality, it's not real. And the negative narratives aren't real either. I mean, I don't have a problem, for example, with Mike Garcia, having a deep relationship to the old congressman and being, quote, recruited and in hopes that, there's going to be a continuation of these defense contracts. Because at the end of the day, that's the name of the game. And as long as you do a good job, I don't care who recruited you. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. I have no problem with family political dynasties. So many people hate political dynasties. If the Clintons didn't suck, I wouldn't have problems with them. If the Bushes didn't suck, I wouldn't have problems with them. If the Kennedys didn't, the Kennedys all just kind of died in these weird controversial scandals and accidents and plane crashes. You know what I'm saying? But I don't have problems with Kennedys, with Clintons, with Bushes and things like that, as long as they don't suck. And so Mike Garcia, I wish him the best of luck. I hope he does really well. But we do have to correct the narrative here. This was not a blue seat that was flipped red. Okay. This is a 30-year red seat that had a flash in the pan blue spark, and now it has normalized and come back to what it usually is, which is, I think, where the nation as a whole is going as well. Cody, do you have anything else left to say before you finish?
Yes, just the only thing I have to say is that I guess now, contrary to everything I said, maybe that's the only thing you could extrapolate from this film. We don't live in the other districts. We don't live in the other counties. I don't live in the other towns that flipped one way or the other. So maybe there are some other ones where something similar happened. I'm just saying, putting together the pieces of how we got to Christy Smith losing to Mike Garcia in 2020, it really isn't that surprising. The story kind of makes sense. You had a big shakeup politically because we had a couple local representatives either retire, die, or term out at the same time.
Yeah.
That led to a shakeup in 2016, and it led to someone like Steve Knight who probably wasn't ready to be in Congress winning, who lost in 2018. So the thing is that maybe that happened everywhere else, but by and large, just just pay attention. Don't let somebody say this one thing happened in this one place, so oh boy, that means X, Y, or Z. Because most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time it means something unique happened there. Like,
well, the other thing that was unique that happened as well too, and this is why as Americans I don't think we can have nice things anymore, is that when the founding fathers wrote the Constitution, Steve Knight, I think, is the kind of person that they had in mind. He's the most honorable person I've met in politics. But that's exactly why he was unpopular, because he wasn't a good fundraiser, because he wasn't, this smooth talking swindler. You know what I'm saying? Because when you hear fundraiser, that's basically what you have to think, either a BSer or, a swindler. Okay. So I feel bad in an era where social media drives everything, has made us all stupid, and you need to speak in sound bites that will be propagated by media channels that want to repeat those sound bites. You can't be an independent thinker. I mean, like Andrew Yang said, this city has a way of just chewing up and spitting out idealists. And to a certain extent, it's almost like that was his problem. So anyway, let us know what you guys think below. If you have any friends in the 25th district, please give us a shout out. We love seeing our fans that are actually close to home. Follow us on PSP Radio 1 on Twitter. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video.